Hi, Lily.
Hi, Nicholas.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm just truly excited to just
Oh,
kind of
good.
delve in here.
Of course, me too. Me too.
So I wanted to start with just saying congratulations on an incredible film. It was such a twisty, like turn. I never knew what to expect, and I love that as a viewer. And I just enjoyed it from start to finish. Um, I wanted to start by just saying that I noticed parallels to The Talented Mr. Ripley, the
Mm.
themes of wanting what you don't have and trying to escape from one's past by assuming another's identity. And I was just kind of curious if this, like, how this kind of came about for you or in constructing Ryan's personal narrative. And also, how did the idea for the film come about in general? And if there are what movies inspired you to make this one?
That's so interesting that you mentioned that book because I actually had never read that book, but I'd seen The Talented Mr. Ripley. I'd seen the film, and
Mhm.
when I realized that I had this story, and I was like, oh, it could be like this, and then I thought, this sounds a lot like The Talented Mr. Ripley. So I thought I should read that book because I don't want to copy it.
Mhm.
And then I read that book, and then I suddenly was like obsessed with Patricia Highsmith. I was like, oh my God, I just loved that book so much that I just kept reading all her books. And so this film is kind of like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I had the idea before I read that book, but I absolutely had her in mind as a sort of spiritual um
Mhm.
sort of figure that I was kind of working towards. But it's also I guess inspired by I also like Alfred Hitchcock a lot, especially the movie Rope, because of the way that he uses dramatic irony in that film, where the film opens and you have a crime and you have these people that have done this crime, and you absolutely have all the information as the viewers. And then
Mhm.
there's this suspense thinking, well, are they going to get away with it or not? And also you have, I think probably might have been the first time this had happened in American cinema. I don't know, but you have antagonists as protagonists, which was very
Mhm.
unusual, I'm sure, in 1948. So, and I just love the whole vibe of that movie and the suspense and Jimmy Stewart's performance. And so that movie definitely I was thinking about with this one. But I wasn't, I guess I just was sort of I had this idea of somebody who was unhappy with their life and wanted to trade places with someone else, had an opportunity to do that, and then after they do that, they regret it. Like that idea was with me for a while, and I actually tried to make it. Initially, it was a story about a young woman in Palm Desert in the 1980s who was a waitress and was having to deal with all these yuppies and how,
Mhm.
and that was the beginning of that. And that didn't work. And so then there was another story about someone on a boat and that didn't work. And then finally, I actually went on a high school reunion kind of thing with some old friends, and and it was just weird seeing them again after so long. And so then I started thinking about that idea of reconnecting with old friends, and yeah, so all that kind of coalesced, and that's how the script came about.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I love this kind of rekindling between Ryan and Jack and just the pure awe that Ryan is in from the moment he steps into that house, just seeing how everything unfolds and the shock and kind of Ryan, in a sense, does become an antagonist because he has no other choice in a way. So I thought that there's a lot of layers here, which I really appreciated.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the idea was that the film is subjective and that you're with Ryan,
Mm,
and he is a flawed guy, right? But he's certainly not evil, and
no.
but he has sort of loose morals, I'd say, and
Mhm.
so, but hopefully, at the beginning of the movie, we're kind of setting up all the information that you need as an audience to understand, to kind of hitch along with him, so because
Mhm.
I've often thought about characters in books and movies and stuff is that you can really have any character as long as you understand the motivation, like you can have a
Mhm.
despicable, I mean, if you I think a great example of that is Breaking Bad, right? Is that you
Mm,
understand
mhm.
Walter's plight and his circumstances. And so, and as he gets further and further into darkness, you're like, you understand why he's doing it, even though it's sort of, kind of frightening on some level. You absolutely understand it and you kind of go along with him, which is maybe exhilarating too, to sort of hitch a ride with a character you normally wouldn't associate with.
Right, right. So speaking of Ryan, I have to bring up Nick Stahl. Personally, I've been a fan of him for a long time, and he has such a remarkably like nuanced, grounded, and kind of like a quiet, powerful aspect to his role, to this role. And I was just wondering, did you have him in mind while writing his character?
No, no, not at
Oh,
all.
okay. Oh, wow.
Um, But I mean, so all the characters were written just for the film, in the script as I sort of in my imagination. And then, then there's, I think, the process of like, okay, so this is the essence of this character. And then we have to cast that person. And that's, that's obviously the challenge of casting anything. And then I was thinking about who could play Ryan, and then I saw Nick, and I thought, I know I actually had an instant reaction to seeing his more recent work, and I thought, yeah, he would be amazing because the character of Ryan is, I think this movie is a noir movie in the sense that it is about a flawed character who is sort of gets overwhelmed by his own desires and pays the price for it, kind of thing. And I think that Nick is a great actor for that kind of role because he's not afraid to go into those sort of murky, dark, areas, but he also retains a relatability always. I feel like you always he's quite an open person, and so
Mhm.
I feel like he allows the audience to, he doesn't push the audience away, which is what the
Right,
character needs to be.
right. Um, I wanted to specifically bring up a line that really stood out to me, and it kind of carries the weight, a lot of the weight in the film in terms of like morality and ethics. That's when Jack says that the reward always matches the atrocity. And I was just kind of curious, where did that come from? Because it's such a powerful line, and it's obviously a brutal foreshadowing of what Ryan ends up doing for money and to kind of protect his, you know, just kind of the what he's running away from and kind of to appease that guilt in a way. And I was just curious where that line came from.
I just wrote that line. That's an expression of the theme of the movie, I think. I think probably maybe it lands with you because it is about that. That's a good summation of what the movie's about. you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Right.
I'd written that I think in a third draft or something. So I'd already written out the script and I had the story. And when I got to that scene again, I knew that character Jack needed to express, his basically his the character Jack has had this experience again and again and again and again and again. So he
Mm-hmm.
knows he's absorbed this life that he's living. And so this was his summation of what's going on. And he tells it
Mm-hmm.
straight to Nick. He's like, yo, man, this is, and then Nick still's like, oh, whatever. I still want it.
Yeah. And Jack dropped so many hints, and upon a second rewatch, it all comes so clearly together for me as a viewer, and everything just kind of ties up really well there. So I wanted to ask, are you a chef, or like what kind of research did you do for this?
No, I cook for my family, right? So that's what I do. I have three children, and they always want to eat at night, and I'm endlessly trying to come up with new things to cook for them. So that's like my experience of cooking. My mother made cookbooks. That was what she did for a living, and so I grew up around food, but it's not. I'm not sort of a foodie necessarily. It was more about the idea about a character being envious for another character, and then I was like, well, it was like a series of questions of like, well, okay, what is he envious of? Why is he envious? And then sort of figuring out, okay, so it's this amazing sort of event, and then okay, so what's the event, and why would there be
Mm-hmm.
an event? And oh, maybe he's a chef, and then so it kind of was like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is all the time we have, but thank you so much, Nicholas, and thank you for creating something original and thought-provoking. And I can't wait for audiences to see it and revel in it. And I'm looking forward to your future projects.
Oh, thanks so much, Lily. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.